Little House on the Prairie won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Charles Schulz.
Old Sparky the Spark Plug.
So Sparky. Pretty sure only a grown man that does cartoons could be called Sparky.
Yeah. Or a robot.
Oh, that's true.
Sparks
that's
a lot.
true.
An old robot.
Well, Charles Schulz was definitely not a robot.
He's kind of an old robot. He
robot.
kind of was. I mean, he
Actually,
did the
that's
same
true.
thing all the time.
He did do 50 years of comic strips.
Well, one of the most, if not the most influential comic strip creator. It's got to be the most successful comic strip ever.
It is. It is not the longest running, surprisingly enough.
But it made like over $1 billion a year or something, didn't it? At its height?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It did really well.
It's a lot of insurance commercials and
Just gonna build more ice rinks.
and Dolly Madison's.
Take yourself back to 1950.
Ooh,
way back. February 15th, Walt Disney releases his 12th animated film, Cinderella.
Nice.
It's 12th by 1950. I always forget that he started in the 30s.
Yeah.
20s and 30s.
He's doing it.
He was.
Doing it for a long time.
He was doing it. August 1st, 1950, Crusader Rabbit, the first animated series produced specifically for television, debuts in the United States. It was created by Alexander Anderson and Jay Ward of Rocky and Bullwinkle fame.
Nice. I love Jay Ward.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. We will definitely cover Jay Ward at some point.
Oh, yeah.
He did a bunch. He did a lot. September 4th, the comic strip Beetle Bailey is created by Mort Walker in the United States. It still runs today in 1,800 newspapers worldwide.
Yeah, I read Beetle Bailey.
I remember it growing up, but I just thought it didn't exist anymore. I was just surprised.
You'd be surprised. If you look at the comic section, well, it's sad because it's so small, but man, that used to be such a section. It was a whole friggin' section.
Oh, yeah.
And I would remember we would get 2 or 3 different papers growing up.
Oh, yeah.
And that means 2 or 3 different giant comic sections.
Right,
Because some would have some and some would have other because
Yeah.
it's syndicate. And the way you get all your favorites is you had to
Right.
get a couple of papers. And nothing was better than the old man getting some big-ass donuts in the papers and, eating donuts and reading comics,
Over
baby.
in the poor side of the Midwest, we only got one newspaper.
Yeah.
But
That's why you're not as smart as me.
I read, yes, because I didn't read as many comics. I did read the comics every morning during eating my cereal. That was always my favorite thing.
Nice. You didn't read the back of the cereal box?
No, I read the comics. I love the comics. Mort Walker created Beetle Bailey, and the reason I included him was because he illustrated the strip for longer than anyone else. He illustrated it for like 67 years.
Wow.
It was some crazy amount of time.
But yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But old Sparky,
Yes.
Sparkplug,
Yeah.
he did all of the inking and all of the
He did
coloring,
everything,
everything.
yes.
Nobody touched his comics
yeah.
but him, and I'm not sure if Mort.
I don't think Mort Walker. I think he just drew it and wrote it. I don't think he did the inking.
and
all that
at
stuff.
some point he wrote it and drew it, and then at some point
yes,
he
eventually, yes. Well, he did write and illustrate it until he died.
Oh,
but,
nice,
But then
okay.
after that, but he did have other. I do believe he had other people that would pop in and do stuff.
Beetle
So he
Bailey
took
was
breaks.
very lazy, and he kept his
was.
cap down over his eyes.
He did.
Sarge, man. It was like a comic version of Gomer Pyle.
Yeah.
But if Gomer Pyle was just a lazy guy who couldn't sing like an angel.
October 2nd, the comic strip Peanuts premieres in 7 newspapers.
Wow. And that's where it remained.
All of 7.
Only 7.
That was it forever. 1950 was also the year the Korean War started, and just a small aside, I took a weird deep rabbit hole into the Korean War, and I didn't know almost anything about it.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I hadn't read about it because it was really an awful time.
Yeah. No, it was MASH was about
right.
the Korean War,
Right.
and they tried to. But that was more like an allegory of the atrocities from Vietnam more than
Yes.
that was their way
Yeah.
of dealing with Vietnam.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
70s
and
rather
dealing-
than Korea. But yeah, Korea, man, that was
It had
Really
some
effed up war, man.
really messed up things that happened during the Korean War.
Koreans just did some numbers on each other.
They did not like each other.
Still don't, by the way.
No, they
The
still
war
do
is still
not.
technically going on.
That's true. It was never resolved. So, at its height, Peanuts was published daily in 2,600 newspapers in 75 countries and 21 different languages.
That's insane.
Over nearly 50 years, Charles Schulz drew 17,897 published Peanuts strips.
That's a lot of output.
That is every day for almost 50 years. Like, it is insane.
Well, he had an incredible work ethic. He never missed. I mean, he took a vacation, I think, once, right?
He did eventually, yes.
But not until he was like 70 or something.
He only took one vacation. It was a 5-week break in 1997. So he drew it and inked it for 47 years, just so he could celebrate his 75th birthday. Reruns ran during his vacation, the only time it occurred.
Oh, I remember that too.
Alive.
And it was like,
I do too. Yeah. It was very odd.
And then after he died, they started running classic Peanuts stuff.
Yeah, I remember when it happened, and I was like, did something happen to Charles Schulz?
Yeah.
And because they didn't explain it, suddenly there was reruns.
And there was never reruns before.
No. It reminds me a lot of, I had a high school biology teacher who, for 42 years, never missed a single day of work, except for the one day that they threw him his party celebrating that he worked 42 years.
I think that's awful. I think, like, attendance awards and that kind of stuff, that's awful.
Yeah.
Because people get sick, and then they have to, I'm so sick.
I know.
Well,
this guy was one of those people that just never got sick. Like,
well, no, I'm not saying that that's a bad person that does it. I'm saying,
but you shouldn't go in if you're not feeling well.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't like those awards because I think they're kind of arbitrary. And just the fact that you show up every day, I get it, but it's,
literally the bare minimum.
Exactly.
I did actually that same year, my graduating year, we had one kid that literally all 12 years of school never missed a single day.
That's impressive.
They gave him a special award for it.
Yeah,
this was
brown nose and little teacher's pet award.
Well, he was also the kid. His mom worked in the administration and managed to get a teacher fired. So that was super fun. That's for the Stepdad Show at some point. The strips plus merchandise and product endorsements produced revenues of more than $1 billion per year, with Schulz earning an estimated $30 to $40 million annually.
That seems low.
Yeah. I mean, granted, if I was getting $30 to $40 million a year, I'd be okay.
Yes. I'm not saying that it's not an obscene amount of money, but if you're making $1 billion, that's less than 30%. Because $1 billion is 1,000 million.
No, that's like 3%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's making 3% of the property's gross that he created.
Charles Schulz is the kind of guy, he did not care. He didn't do it for the money. Yeah. He did it because he literally had to.
Yeah, and then he built his little compound and just kind of stayed there forever.
Did his thing.
He just needed enough money to keep that ice rink going. And
So Charles Monroe Schulz was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota on November 26th, 1922.
You know, a lot of people that live there call it Minneapolis.
Okay. He grew up in the neighboring city of St. Paul, which I still, I grew up maybe 4 hours away from Minneapolis, and I still really don't understand the whole, Minneapolis, St. Paul. They're literally the same city. They just call them two different things.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sure people in Minnesota will correct me on this, but...
Well, yes. Our huge contingent of Minnesotians who listen.
He was the only child of Carl Schulz and Dina Halverson and was of German and Norwegian descent. His uncle called him Sparky after the horse Sparkplug in Billy DeBeck's comic strip Barney Google, which Schulz enjoyed reading.
Oh, yeah, I remember. And Barney Google, I remember Snuffy Smith. Yeah.
Which now it's actually more referred to as Snuffy Smith.
Yeah.
But this is the fascinating thing, and this is why I love doing the show. I had heard of Snuffy Smith. I didn't know who Barney Google was. This started in 1919.
Yeah.
And that strip is still running.
100%. And if you look at Snuffy Smith, he looks kind of like Wimpy from the Popeye cartoons.
Yeah. Loves his
I'd
hamburgers.
gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Snuffy Smith, although it started in 1919, is not the longest-running comic strip of all time. There's one that was, or two that were longer than it. Gasoline Alley, which started in 1918.
And Ziggy.
I'd never heard of. No. Yeah, Ziggy started in 1749.
Maybe. Or is it Love Is, that horrible...
Love Is?
I think that's what it's called. It's like a one-panel cartoon that isn't in the cartoons. Yeah. They put it in like the business section or something, but it's these two naked kids.
Oh.
And it's like, Love Is... watching TV together or whatever it is. It's awful. It's the worst cartoon ever made.
The longest running comic strip is the Katzenjammer Kids, which started in 1897.
Kids, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously they've had many, many different writers and stuff, but I can't believe these things are still running. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think the Katzenjammer Kids are bigger outside of the United States than in the United States. Because people don't really care about comics anymore, which is super sad.
It's really too bad.
I can't tell. We watched a great documentary to prepare for this show on Apple Television. Yeah. Who Are You, Charlie Brown? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It was about Charles Schulz. Really well done. Narrated by Lupita Nyong'o. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
She's brilliant. I think she's playing Trevor Noah's mom and Trevor Noah's biography. They talked about that years ago. I've been waiting for it.
Yeah,
best biography I've ever read.
Yeah.
Second best biography I've ever read is Trevor Noah's biography.
Oh, okay. What was the first?
The autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh, okay.
It was a very influential book on me for a lot of reasons having to do with my stepdad that I'll talk to you about on a stepdad show.
Okay, perfect.
But I adore Lupita Nyong'o, and she does such a great job narrating it. They kind of zoom into panels and bring Charlie Brown to life. It's just a sweet, awesome, very fun, very non. There's not a lot of controversy.
No.
Which there's a little in his life, but it's just a very sweet thing to watch, and I highly recommend if you have an hour and you have Apple TV. Give it a shot.
It does gloss over some of his personal life, but it's not relevant to the comic.
This goes back to what I was saying on the Stepdad show, which is I'm tired of learning about people's lives, because it's like
it doesn't matter.
Everybody's human. Charles Schulz, for all intents and purposes, was an amazing human being.
Yeah, totally.
A man who his quest for equality and his whether it's feminism or whether it's civil rights, whatever it is, that guy was a champion of humanity.
Yes,
but
completely.
He was a human being.
He was,
and a very rich human being. And I'm not excusing any behavior, but I'm saying we gotta stop making heroes.
Yeah.
These untouchable, unblemished marble, pieces of perfection, because humans are humans, baby.
If you do that, you will be disappointed.
Always.
Exactly.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
We'll cover it, yeah. Schulz loved drawing and sometimes drew his family dog Spike, who ate unusual things such as pins and tacks. So he would draw the dog eating weird things.
Take the pins and tacks away from the damn dog. That's not healthy. What kind of horrid poops did that poor dog have?
They burned. They burned hard.
Every time he went outside, it was come in, blood splattering everywhere.
It's Motex again.
Come on. Sparky?
Oh, no, he ate some tacks, yeah. Sorry, that was Minnesota. In 19... Hey, the dog ate some more tacks.
That dog, he's eating some tacks.
Yeah. Can you not hear him pooping?
Could you maybe take your dog inside, huh? Hey, I think he's Canadian now.
In 1937, Schulz drew a picture of Spike and sent it to Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Ripley's Believe It or Not. And that's been around for quite a while.
That has been around for
hundreds
a long time.
Of years. Since
835.
Yes, well, Ripley...
Believe it or
for
not.
a long time, believe it or not. I loved Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
Can't wait for they do that show. Because they also had a great 70s show.
Oh, my God. And did they go through the 80s, too? Because there was definitely a Ripley show I watched during the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was 70s, early 80s, and then probably in reruns.
Yeah.
In
fact, I think there's technically been a couple. I think Dean Cain hosted a version of it for a while.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the original fun version. That was
no.
more of the salacious, Believe it or not.
Yeah,
This man has 18 penises.
Wow. Okay.
And that man was me.
That took me by surprise.
They were in a bag.
As did your 18 penises. Okay.
They weren't mine.
His drawing appeared in Robert Ripley's syndicated panel captioned,
"A hunting dog that eats pins, tacks, and razor blades is owned by C.F. Schulz, St. Paul, Minnesota, and drawn by Sparky."
CF was his father, Carl Fred Schulz.
I love how his name was Carl and they named the son Charles.
Yeah, not super original coming from the Germanic descent. It just happens. Schulz attended Richards Gordon Elementary School in St. Paul, where he skipped 2 half grades, essentially meaning 1 grade. I'm not sure why everyone says half grades. It doesn't make any sense.
I skipped a grade.
You did?
I don't know if I told you this before, but when I was young, I really wanted to be a cartoonist.
Like a comic strip panelist?
Either a comic strip cartoonist or a satirist for Mad Magazine.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true. You do really love those.
So I used to draw comics. I told you about my Mr. Bell comics in 8th grade that were very popular. And then I would also take, a bunch of paper, and I would fold it over in half and make a book. And then I would do the cover, and I would make a complete, like, Raiders of the Lost Ark parody.
Oh, nice.
Or a Knight Rider parody. I still have a couple of those, too. Nice. But I loved the solitude. I loved the creativity. There is something really magical about being able to draw. But draw cartoon. Like, there's a difference between cartoon drawing and, like, painting and
of course.
Actual, I'm not going to say actual art. Because I think cartoon,
it's an art. It's becoming art.
It looks like, it's really goofy. It's just a head and this and that. But it's really difficult to draw the same thing over and over again.
17,000 times.
Yes, but to make it look the same. You've got to be consistent.
Yeah,
we can all draw, round circles and eyes and stuff. But it's like, but I really, really loved drawing. I really loved the solitude of it. And up until college, like, I drew a big, like, picture of all of my friends as cartoons that we had up in our apartment for years. I have it somewhere, but it's so funny. I haven't drawn in years, but I just loved it. I couldn't, and the reason why I brought this up is because it was because of the Peanuts and because of Mad Magazine. Yeah, those were the two, that were like, bam, baby.
It's funny because I did all the same, but I was more drawn to the writing side of it. Like, that was what triggered me more. And probably because I just couldn't draw for anything. I was very bad at drawing.
But that was fun, too, especially with the parodies. Yeah. To come up with the dialogue. Yeah. A lot of it was just rip-offs of
Of course.
Magazine, pretty much. Sure. I think my Raiders of the Lost Ark was Raiders of the Lost Art. That was the name of my parody. Nice. And I did Magnum P.I., which I believe was the incredibly original A Magnum P.U.
Oh, nice.
Which might have been Mad Magazine.
There might have been a Mad Magazine that did that,
But I don't know. I miss it.
So because he skipped that grade, Charles became a shy, timid teenager, perhaps as a result of being the youngest in his class at Central High School. In that school now, there's a 5-foot-tall statue of Snoopy placed in the main office. In February 1943, Schultz's mother, Dina, died after a long illness. He was very, very close with his mother, and was very disappointed because he went to the military, and essentially it was the last time that he saw her.
Well, they also kept the illness from him for a really long time. And he felt a lot of rejection because of that, and he felt like he was kind of outside the family. It really bothered him, especially how close to his mom. And then, when he's saying goodbye to his mom before he goes off to the military, she's like, "Well, Sparky, goodbye.
This is it.
Probably the last time you'll see me." What a great bus ride after that to Fort Dix, or whatever he's going. Just thinking about, wow, probably never gonna see my mom again.
Yeah, I just can imagine him being like, "What? What are you talking about?"
And then,
I'm gonna go. I'll be back. Like, what are you talking about?
Off to war. You'll never see your mom. I mean, what a horrible.
It was a rough time. He was drafted into the army. He served as a staff sergeant with the 20th Armored Division in Europe during World War II, as a squad leader on a 50 caliber machine gun team.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah,
you got to clean that gun. You got to hump that gun. You got to
oh yeah.
That's the one where they feed the thing in, and you got the. One guy's got to hold the bullets while the other guy.
It's a lot.
I think it's the gun that Sylvester Stallone used in the Rambo movie, where he basically blew people to pieces for 25 minutes.
The two guys that were sitting in the front seat, and he just turned them into jelly.
That was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen on film.
So his unit only saw combat at the very end of the war, so he didn't have to deal with a lot of that. Schulz said that he only had one opportunity to fire his machine gun, but forgot to load it, and that the German soldier he could have fired at willingly surrendered.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, if that's true, what a great story, because it means he didn't have to kill anybody.
Right, and he didn't get killed.
Yeah, and he didn't have the guilt of killing a guy that was going to surrender.
Right, exactly.
I'm sure, look, no matter what, I'm sure he had some really tough times, because nobody goes to combat and comes out like squeaky clean. You know what I mean?
No, it affects you. It does.
Two guys who never served telling you what it's like to serve.
I've seen movies, Jim.
Yeah.
I've seen movies.
Hey, look, man, I'm still having flashbacks from all the Vietnam movies of the 80s. I got my platoon flashbacks.
Oliver Stone is personally responsible for many.
Full Metal Jacket
Yeah.
flashbacks.
Like most of veterans from World War II, he spoke very proudly of his wartime service, was very, very happy that he went and served his country.
Yeah, it was a very popular war.
Yeah, well,
it was also a necessary war.
It was a necessary war. That is very true.
Like the last time we really came together as a world to stop fascism.
Yeah, well,
now
we just welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, now everybody's like, why were the Nazis so bad? I don't get it.
We already took care of this. What are we doing?
Yeah. Okay.
In late 1945, Schulz returned to Minneapolis. He did lettering for a Roman Catholic comic magazine called Timeless Topics, with an X.
Yeah, because it was a bunch of naked boys.
No, it's I was going to say, the most controversial thing about it was the X in Topics. It told stories with titles like Dog Sled Apostles and The Adventures of Damien of Molokai.
Ooh, that's my favorite story in the Bible.
Really, really deep into the Roman Catholic mythology there. There actually are copies of this online you can look up.
Sure.
And I looked because I was just curious.
Hey, baby, I read Bible comics. You know, I read the Bible every day when I was a Catholic.
The only ones I read were those little tiny pamphlets they would hand out, essentially telling me every time I was going to hell, no matter what I did.
I used to, when I was heavy Catholic, when I was like deep.
Like you were super
deep inside Catholicism. I was way deep in it.
Okay, all right.
I would read the Bible. I would read Revelations every night before I went to bed because it would scare me. It was so spooky. It's the greatest. Have you read Revelations?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's been a long time.
Awesome. Crazy freaking story,
it is
bro.
Like an acid trip. Yeah, it is.
I can't believe I just said, bro. I'm going to hell.
Yep. I got a pamphlet to show you. In July 1946, he took a job at Art Instruction, Inc., where he reviewed and graded students' work. Schulz had taken a correspondence course from the school before he was drafted.
I wonder if he had to draw a turtle.
Probably.
Draw this turtle.
Yeah. He had to judge whether or not the turtle was a turtle.
But did he get it from a matchbook? Did you ever have those matchbooks? Were you young?
Were you old? The turtle? That sounds really familiar, but we
used to go in Boston. We'd go to these bars, and you get matchbooks that were like, "Could you draw this turtle?"
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They would also be in like comic books and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was funny. You always get this. Can you draw this turtle?
Weird.
It might have been for that school. Who knows?
He worked at the Art Instruction, Inc. for several years as he developed his career as a comic creator.
Now, people take note. How old is he now?
He would be 23. At this point, he would be 23.
That is impressive. This guy has had, he's a veteran. He's had, 3 different big jobs, and he's 23.
Yeah.
I was going to say, people, he's probably in his 30s, so be patient about your... no. He's that guy.
Well, this is the thing you have to understand is that when he started Peanuts, he was only 28.
That is crazy.
It's impressive, and that doesn't It doesn't include the fact that he actually did 4 other comic strips before that. Schultz's first group of regular cartoons, a weekly series of one-panel jokes called Little Folks, was published from June 1947 to January 1950 in the St. Paul Pioneer Press, with Schulz usually doing 4 one-panel drawings per issue.
Yeah, they had. I have a bunch of Peanuts books, little. I used to, I love books just like you. And then I'd go to the bookstore and you get your Lord of the Rings books and you get your Reedy Read books. And then I would be getting my Mad Magazine books and the Snoopy books and then later Garfield and crap like that. But I have some really old Peanut stuff that start with Little Folks. And then it's the original Peanuts with the big heads. And the one that I really, that I kind of prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really, of those 3 kind of styles he did, I actually prefer the Little Folk style over all of them. I think I don't know, for whatever reason, it's the most appealing to me.
Well, it really evokes the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems the 50s,
late 40s, early 50s, yeah.
I mean, the thing about Peanuts is it's timeless.
Yes.
Nothing has changed.
No.
I don't think. I mean, it's not like...
No.
They ever started watching movies on a VCR or, it was the Peanuts is pretty much... the same kind of shenanigans at the beginning till the end.
Completely timeless, yes. It was in Little Folks that Schulz first used the name Charlie Brown for a character, although he applied the name in 4 gags to 3 different boys, as well as one buried in sand.
Yeah, they had murdered that boy. Good old Charlie Brown, let's bury him in the sand. His mother will cry tonight.
No.
That's what it said in the last panel. Shermie said, his mother will cry tonight.
Little Folks was really dark. It was really dark. The series also had a dog that looked like Snoopy, although it wasn't Snoopy.
His name was Poopy.
Yeah, it was Poopy, yeah. In May 1948, Schulz sold his first one-panel drawing to the Saturday Evening Post. Within the next 2 years, a total of 17 untitled drawings by Schulz were published in the Post simultaneously with his work for the Pioneer Press.
The Saturday Evening Post at the time, for those of you who do not know, was the most popular magazine.
Yeah.
That's where Norman Rockwell did the covers for that, for the Post. It was just that magazine that everybody had in their house.
It was huge.
Everybody subscribed to it. It was just, it was like the newspaper. Everybody had the Post.
Yeah. Around the same time, he tried to have Little Folks syndicated through the Newspaper Enterprise Association. Schulz would have been an independent contractor for the syndicate, unheard of in the 1940s, but the deal fell through. Little Folks was dropped from the Pioneer Press in January of 1950 for undetermined reasons that I could not find.
He had a lot of stumbling blocks, man. This guy had a lot of difficulty in his early life. His mom dying, going to war, getting fired, trying and trying. And this is the thing. He didn't get success on his first thing,
No. He just kept doing it. He kept at it.
But I think it was that first success that he got with Ripley's Believe It or Not that kept him going.
Yeah.
Because it was encouraging, like, oh, I just got in Ripley's Believe It or Not, which was huge, and my drawing is in there. So
right.
I think that showed him that his talent was worthy of commerce, I guess. I don't know.
Keep trying. Yeah. I mean, it's something that he could do and potentially make a living at.
He didn't give up.
Yeah. Later that year, Schulz approached United Feature Syndicate with the one-panel series Little Folks, and the syndicate became interested. By that time, Schulz had also developed a comic strip using 4 panels rather than 1, and the syndicate preferred that version. The syndicate had to change the title for Schulz's strip for legal reasons, and thus Peanuts was born.
Do you know, was it another comic strip that was Little Folks?
Yes, I believe there was another comic strip that was published by United Feature Syndicate called Little Folks.
Oh.
Yeah. Peanuts made its first appearance on October 2nd, 1950 in 7 newspapers. The weekly Sunday page debuted on January 6th, 1952.
Do you know why he called it Peanuts?
No.
Let me tell you. I don't either.
I literally did not find that at all.
That's
I don't
weird.
know what I don't don't
think they mentioned it in the documentary either.
No. It was one of those, it really, I don't know.
It probably, all of his ideas kind of like, oh, there's some peppermint candies. I'm going to call her Peppermint Patty.
Yeah.
So he kind of, what he saw, he drew, and he probably was like,
got a letter saying he had to change the title, and next to him was a bowl of peanuts. So he was like, all right.
Peanuts. There you go.
Peanuts. Sounds good. Sounds as good as anything else.
I think he said penis, but they didn't, didn't enunciate.
One. You get one of these.
And so they made it peanuts, but it was supposed to be penis.
Yeah. Well, the long distance at the time wasn't as good. It was probably garbled.
Scratchy, yeah.
Yeah.
But he went with it. He was like, fine.
He's like, whatever, I guess. Not as good as Peanuts, but okay. Yes. After a slow start, Peanuts eventually became one of the most popular comic strips of all time, as well as one of the most influential. Schulz also had a short-lived sports-oriented comic strip called It's Only a Game between 1957 and 1959, but he abandoned it after the success of Peanuts. So he had been doing Peanuts by that point for 7 years.
Wow.
And said, well, no, I need to do more.
Well, he was a huge sports fan. The guy was a lifelong hockey player. He built a hockey rink in his compound, not just for himself. For other people. Yeah. He would go there every morning for breakfast, have his English muffin with jam.
Yeah.
And then go to work. So, I mean, he loved sports. So that's a definite, good fit for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. From 1956 to 1965, he contributed a gag cartoon called Young Pillars, featuring teenagers to a magazine called Youth, a publication associated with the Church of God.
Church of God!
Exactly. In 1957 and 1961, he illustrated 2 volumes of Art Linkletter's Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Kids say the darn... You remember that show?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, kids do say the darndest things.
In 1964, he illustrated a collection of letters, Dear President Johnson, by Bill Adler. The whole point of including all this is that he didn't just do Peanuts. The man did so much more.
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
all the time.
It's overwhelming, the success of Peanuts, so nobody really thinks of anything else.
Right.
And he had all the success pretty early on. This is all.
Well, it did. I mean, Peanuts took a while to grow.
No, but I mean, that's other stuff that he did was pretty early on, and then once Peanuts expanded, he kind of
after the mid '60s, he just focused on Peanuts. The first collection of Peanut strips.
Peanuts or penis?
Peanuts.
Okay, he focused on Peanuts. Okay,
I said you get one, Jim.
Well, I took 2.
The first collection of Peanuts strips was published in July 1952 by Reinhardt and Company. Many more books followed, greatly contributing to the strip's increasing popularity.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why.
It was. I think it was the reason that people got the books first and then started reading the strip.
Perfect bathroom books.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Perfect My bathroom was littered with Mad Magazine books and Peanuts books.
Peanuts collections, yeah.
Little books. Signet. I think Signet made all the books. They had that little paperbacks. I had rows of paperbacks.
In 2004, Fantagraphics began their complete Peanuts series, literally pulling together all 50 years of comics.
Good Lord. That has to be... How many volumes, man?
I do not know, and in fact, I don't think they're done publishing them.
Well, there's over 17,000 strips. And
I don't think they've finished... I don't know what they're up to.
Even if you put, 3 strips per page.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of pages.
Yeah, it's a lot of pages. Peanuts also proved popular in other media. The first animated TV special, Charlie Brown Christmas, aired in December 1965 and won an Emmy Award.
Which, was that the first of its kind?
Yes. For a TV, a holiday special?
Well, what I'm saying, no. What I'm asking is, was this the first time that a comic strip was made into a holiday special?
I want to say yes. I don't think...
There was no Rex Morgan, M.D. Christmas.
No.
Or Brenda Starr, attorney, Christmas time.
No, but there was Spider-Man had a cartoon and stuff, but
sure.
That came a little bit later, I think.
But that's
late 60s.
Yeah, but Spider-Man was also comic books. He wasn't really
although he had a strip.
Yeah, of course. So did Superman. They all had they all double dipped. But I was just curious.
But yeah, probably. I would say. I'm sure a lot of people were like, really? How is this going to work? And then it was amazing.
They all said that. Yeah. We did the show about the
reference our show about
if you want to know more about the specials, we did a whole show about Thanksgiving, and we included the other ones as well.
Yeah. Numerous TV specials followed, the latest being Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown in 2011. And technically, I would say that the Apple TV one is kind of a new special, because it had a lot of original... it told a story,
Apple TV has a whole bunch of new stuff.
They had purchased the rights to do them, and that's part of the reason that they did this hour-long documentary about Charles Schulz, was to introduce a new generation to him.
And they have produced new Peanuts shows and specials, like Snoopy in Space, and all these different things. They're keeping it's so great. I just love that they're keeping it alive, and they're not not perverting it, but they're not let's update it, let's make it more now, give them cell phones, and Snoopy's an influencer now, and it's
he is Joe Cool.
He is Joe Cool, baby. But
it's staying true to its roots, and
even with the commercials, I remember the Prudential commercial. I think it was Prudential. Was it?
They did a lot of stuff.
Mutual of Omaha, I think was too. Yeah, they did a lot of stuff.
They did a lot of stuff.
There was always the Peanuts. It was never, they never besmirched the Peanuts as an incredible commercial juggernaut, $1 billion a year industry. I don't think that they did any harm to the characters.
No,
by having the commercial, which is really, really rare.
Yes.
I didn't have a teddy bear as a kid. I had a Snoopy.
Oh,
so, that's how much I loved,
the Peanuts.
Oh, God, man. Well, Snoopy mostly.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for Charlie Brown, and of course, we all had our Charlie Brownie moments.
Sure.
And we could all relate to Charlie Brown because people are awful in this world.
That's
and
true.
Treat you and that was another good thing, man. You know how I always talk about there's so many unfulfilled things in our youth. We never got to see, certain people do certain things, and we never got to see Charlie Brown kick that football.
Yeah.
So it's we were set up for disappointment.
Yeah.
With our media, because it didn't give you the happy ending all the time.
No.
There was just this thing about unrequited love, success, that was just such a theme back then.
Yeah.
That people just could not succeed. It's just there was these things. There was such a big conceit about lovable losers who will never, ever, ever
Right.
Like Rockford. Magnum.
Yeah.
They were never going to get rich or whatever. You know, they were just going to.
Right.
It's just so funny. I think that's why the Gen X is just so mellow about stuff, is because we're like, nobody gets what they want, man.
Yeah. We're quite aware that this is not going to work. It's fine.
Did you see the way Linus treated Snoopy when he tried to put together the Thanksgiving dinner? He was just so rude to him. Or Peppermint Patty.
Peppermint Patty, yeah. Until his death, Schulz wrote or co-wrote the TV specials and carefully oversaw all of their productions, along with still doing a daily strip every day for 50 years.
I mean, he's so protective. I'm really surprised that it's surprising to me that he did let there be specials and let there be commercials and stuff, because he penciled, inked, colored. Nobody touched his strips but him. So it's odd to me that he was able to let go of such control.
He made a lot of money off it. But he did have control. I mean, he had as much as he could.
Of course. Of course. I'm just surprised he didn't draw all the pictures for the animation thing.
Oh, God, that would have taken forever. I think he was still a realist, understanding that I can't do this by myself. Charlie Brown, the principal character of Peanuts, was named after a coworker at Art Instruction, Inc. Schulz drew much from his own life, some examples being, like Charlie Brown's parents, Schulz's father was a barber and his mother a housewife.
Nice.
Like Charlie Brown, Schulz often felt shy and withdrawn.
Aww.
In an interview with Charlie Rose in May 1997, Schulz observed,
I suppose there's a melancholy feeling in a lot of cartoonists, because cartooning, like all other humor, comes from bad things happening.
Schulz reportedly had an intelligent dog when he was a boy named Spike, which eventually becomes the brother? Yeah. Snoopy's brother.
Is this the different dog than the one that ate all the tacks and
No,
nails?
I think it was the same. I think it was
not
the same
smart dog.
No.
There's nothing intelligent about a dog eating tacks and nails.
Although that dog was a pointer, not a beagle, like Snoopy, family photos confirm a certain physical resemblance. This big nose. His references to his brother Spike living outside of Needles, California, were influenced by the few years the Schulz family lived there.
I love the needle stuff because it was just Spike, who was a big, tall, skinny Snoopy with a hat and maybe a mustache. And it was just him and tumbleweeds.
Yeah,
that's what Needles was.
Maybe a cactus somewhere. Yeah.
It was very desolate.
They moved to Needles to join other family members who had relocated from Minnesota to tend to an ill cousin. I will never forget driving to L.A. for the first time, moving out here, stopping in Needles at 1 o'clock in the morning, and being like, oh, this is where Spike lives.
See him?
And stepping out of my car and realizing even at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was still 104 degrees.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I didn't see Spike. He's a cartoon, Jim.
No.
Yeah. Schulz's inspiration for Charlie Brown's unrequited love for the little red-haired girl was Donna Mae Johnson, an Art Instruction Inc. accountant with whom he fell in love. When Schulz finally proposed to her in June of 1950, shortly after he had made his first contact with his syndicate, she turned him down and married another man.
That devastated him. A lot of the Charlie Brown stuff with like him in the bed, you know, like why me? You know, all that depressing stuff. That's definitely comes from his unrequited love, and the way that they kind of presented it in the documentary made me feel pretty bad for his wife, because it just seemed like, he just, you know.
Yeah. I think his first wife was definitely
a rebound.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was definitely chasing that little red-haired girl until he met Jean, who he got married to in the early 80s.
And that's the thing, man. It was Marriage City back then. You dated for like 6 weeks, and then you're like, okay, this looks good. Let's get married.
Yeah.
Everybody got married.
It was like, it's time.
You had to get married. It was like a law.
When you live through a world war, you kind of feel like you got short time.
Yeah.
It's
that would make me not want to get married because I have so little time.
Linus and Shermy were named for his good friends Linus Maurer and Sherman Plepler. It's a great name. Sherman Plepler.
Plepler.
Yep.
Plepler! Get in here!
Plepler!
Plepler!
Where are those reports, Plepler?
Yeah, Plepler!
Peppermint Patty was inspired by Patricia Swanson, one of his cousins on his mother's side.
She was also inspired by Billie Jean King, a very good friend of his.
Yes.
And one thing that was really great about Schulz is that he included all the kids in the sports.
Yes.
The girls played the sports, the boys played, they all played it together. And this was not something that was done back then. Everything, you're all like, you know, there were so many groundbreaking things about this cartoon that everybody takes for granted now. And one of them was kids playing sports together and little girls being able to be tough and
Yeah.
Look, Peppermint Patty, she was the best sports person of the entire strip. There's nobody better than her.
Oh no, she was fantastic.
And he, often made the women or the girl characters stronger, smarter,
Yeah.
more clever than the boys.
Oh yeah.
That's comes again to his sense of equality. His sense of everybody should be able to participate. Everybody should be able to have fun. Everybody should be able to play hockey. We should all play baseball together. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, you're black or you're white, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's all have fun together.
Yeah, exactly. So in April 1951, Schulz married Joyce Halverson, no relation to Schultz's mother, Dina Halverson.
Yeah,
Schulz.
good, because that would have been incest.
Schulz adopted Halverson's daughter, Meredith. Later that same year, they moved to Colorado Springs. Their son, Monty, was born in February 1952, and 3 more children were born later in Minnesota.
It's cold in Minnesota. All you got to do is make kids.
It's true.
Just keep warm.
It's true.
Because you can burn them. You can burn them kids. Like cords of wood. That's what they did back then in Minneapolis.
While in Colorado Springs, Schulz painted a mural on the bedroom wall of his daughter Meredith's room featuring Patty with a balloon, Charlie Brown jumping over a candlestick, and Snoopy playing on all fours.
Oh.
The wall was removed in 2001, donated and relocated to the Charles M. Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah, they didn't even know they were doing that. All of a sudden, they were pulling this wall out, and his widow was like, what the hell? No, they knew.
It's just weird. I can imagine living in that house and being like, oh, yeah, Charles Schulz lived here. Like, this is literally an original piece of art sitting on the wall.
His story as a kid. It's like, that was my wall growing up, and now it's in a museum.
Yeah.
You know? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Got to be so tough being his kids, man. Got it.
Yeah.
Not in terms of he's a tough guy or anything, but just coming out for. I don't envy any child of super successful, groundbreaking people because you have, you have a ton of privilege and you have a ton of opportunities, but it's just you're always chasing the dragon, baby.
Schulz and his family returned to Minneapolis, and they stayed until 1958. They then moved to Sebastopol, California, where Schulz built his first studio. Until then, he'd worked at home or in a small rented office room. Schultz's father died while visiting him in 1966. The same year, Schultz's Sebastopol studio burned down.
Damn, that's a bad year.
It was not a good year for him.
And his the last thing his father did before he died was burn down the studio. He was like, you go burn your sinful cartoon.
Set a fire in the closet.
He had a heart attack for being so angry.
No, none of that is true.
Just thought Snoopy was a communist, and that just didn't. Didn't fly with him.
By 1969, Schulz had moved to Santa Rosa, California, where he lived and worked until his death. By Thanksgiving 1970, it was clear that Schultz's marriage was in trouble. He was having an affair with a 25-year-old woman named Tracy Claudius.
Yep, midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Some guys buy a car. Some guys have an affair. Some guys, I don't know, do whatever. I haven't had one. My whole life is a midlife crisis.
I mean, by this point, he was 48, and yes, he was. It was very obvious that marrying his wife, Joyce, was really a rebound because he was so hurt by not marrying the little red-haired girl.
And then he gets the attention from a 25-year-old, blah, blah,
I'm sure
blah.
She probably had red hair.
Like we said, nobody's perfect. I'm not a big fan of cheating on your wife. I'm also, not a big fan of these May Decembers, but it happens. I get it.
Yeah.
People are human. They do their thing. Nothing is more akin to mental illness than love or, lust. It makes you crazy. It makes you into a goofball. We've all been idiots for love or lust, and so, he's no different.
No, he's human. He's human. The Schultzes divorced in 1972, and in September 1973, he married Jean Forsyth Clyde, whom he had first met when she brought her daughter to his hockey rink.
Yeah.
Schulz had a long association with ice sports, and both figure skating and ice hockey featured prominently in his cartoons. In Santa Rosa, he owned the Redwood Empire Ice Arena, which opened in 1969 and featured a snack bar called The Warm Puppy.
Ooh, and that's where his happiness is a warm puppy, baby.
It is.
That's what he's saying.
That's where he had his breakfast every morning.
His English muffin with jelly every morning, and then he would go into his office and draw on that slanted board, and man, that must have been a really comfortable chair.
Oh yeah,
I would spend. He's super rich. I would get the greatest chair. I'd be like, this chair is $15,000.
It looked like a really nice chair.
It looked pretty comfortable, but it didn't look super comfortable.
Schultz's daughter Amy served as a model for the figure skating in the television special She's a Good Skate, Charlie Brown, which was released in 1980. Mm-hmm. Schultz was also very active in senior ice hockey tournaments. In 1975, he formed Snoopy's Senior World Hockey Tournament at his Redwood Empire Ice Arena.
Nice.
So he didn't just love it, he played it.
He played it lifelong. He was a lifelong sports fanatic.
He loved to skate. In 1981, he was awarded the Lester Patrick Trophy for outstanding service to the sport of hockey in the United States.
That's pretty big.
It is huge. It's huge. In 1998, Schultz hosted the first over 75 hockey tournament.
I could not go to see that. I'm sorry. I couldn't go to see it. It would be so nerve-wracking.
Everyone's so fragile.
Oh, my God. It would be like watching a bunch of bags of glass skating around trying to...
Yes, anxiety.
75-year-old checking another guy against the boards, baby. He would shatter into a million pieces, just drop into a glop of gloop.
It would be bad. Just jelly.
I couldn't do it. It would make me too nervous.
In 2000, the Ramsey County Board in St. Paul, Minnesota voted to rename the Highland Park Ice Arena the Charles M. Schulz Highland Arena in his honor.
Awesome. Now is it like the Dogecoin, Bitcoin arena?
Crypto.com, Highland Arena. Yeah. Blech. Schultz also used his hockey rink for tennis expositions after meeting Billie Jean King. Many tennis pros played in that rink, including Roy Emerson.
He and King were really good friends.
They were very close.
She was in the documentary as well. And he loved sports. He loved sports people. He loved hanging out with people that were good at what they do. And he would always sneak it into his strip somehow, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was his life.
Yeah.
I mean, that strip was everything that happened to him. It was always stuff that was going on. He pulled from his life. I mean, even to the point of, like, when his kids got older, he kind of stopped writing them as kids.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, well, I don't really have the inspiration for this anymore, so
there was always an undertone of philosophy to Peanuts. It's the most philosophical cartoon ever. One of my favorite cartoons, he mentioned it at the end, and it's Charlie Brown. I love the ones in the dead of night, Charlie Brown in bed, and he's just asking the universe. Like, and he asks the universe, why me?
Yeah.
And the universe it says, hey, it's just your time, buddy. It's just, your number came up.
Your name came up.
It's nothing personal, but it's your, and that's kind of how he saw stuff. Just to go back to him mining his own life for ideas and stuff. One of my favorite stories is his last wife, I guess.
Jean
started calling him Sweet Baboo as her nickname.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Sweet Baboo was not only in Peanuts, it was how Sally tortured Linus. So he took the pet name, the love name that she gave him, and used it as a torture device. And she was a little offended by that.
I can imagine him hearing that and going like, "That's really dumb." Like,
I think it's cute, Sweet Baboo.
It's cute. I
mean, come on. Everybody calls their significant other something stupid. I used to call one girlfriend Poop.
Oh.
And she'd call me Poop.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Schultz also enjoyed golf, and he was a member of the Santa Rosa Golf and Country Club from 1959 to 2000.
That's why the guy was just unstoppable.
He was
always
super
moving
active.
and grooving.
Yeah, he was a very active man.
Well, sitting down, you probably took him 2 hours to do the cartoon, to do the strip?
It depends. I mean, he would sit down. He would never pre-plan. He literally sat down that day and was like, I got to do something. And he would sit until he had an idea, and then he would do it. I'm sure sometimes he would... The 17,000 was just the published strips. I'm sure there were probably plenty that he was like, this doesn't work.
Oh, sure.
And he just put it aside. Or it's not up to his standard or whatever.
I'm sure he threw him away. I mean, he seems like a crumpler.
He would hold on to him, yeah. He was a crumpler. On Sunday, May 8th, 1988, 2 gunmen in ski masks entered the Schultz's home through an unlocked door, planning to kidnap Jean.
Good Lord.
But the attempt failed when Charles's daughter Jill drove up to the house, prompting the would-be kidnappers to flee. Jill called the police from a neighbor's house. Sonoma County Sheriff Dick Michelson said,
"It was obviously an attempted kidnap ransom. This was a targeted criminal act. They knew exactly who the victims were."
Neither Schultz nor his wife were hurt during the incident.
Good.
It was. They obviously knew he had money.
Crazy though, man.
It's weird. It's very odd.
Yeah, he's making $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Well, not at this point, but
from the late 1980s, Schultz said in interviews that some people had described him as a quote-unquote secular humanist, but that he did not know one way or the other.
I do not go to church anymore. I guess you might say I've come around to secular humanism, an obligation I believe all humans have to others in the world we live in.
He was. The only way that everyone could be equal is that if we all were equal.
Yeah.
In July 1981, Schulz underwent heart bypass surgery. During his hospital stay, President Ronald Reagan phoned to wish him a quick recovery.
I just wanted to say, I hope you're feeling better, and I've always preferred Snuffy Smith.
In the 1980s, Schulz complained that
Sometimes my hand shakes so much I have to hold my wrist to draw.
this led to an erroneous impression that Schulz had Parkinson's disease. According to a letter from his physician, Schulz had essential tremor, a condition alleviated by beta blockers.
Yeah.
Schulz still insisted on writing and drawing the strip by himself, resulting in noticeably shakier lines over time.
That is incredible, by the way. That shows that he does not have that much of an ego. Because so many people, if they couldn't... maybe it shows he's not a perfectionist. I don't know. It shows that his love for the strip is so incredibly fierce that he was going to do it no matter what. And he was so passionate about it that even the fact that, honestly, I enjoyed the strip more after the Tremors because it just had this more homespun thing to it. It was just very human, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it had just this feel to it that was like,
In November 1999, Schulz suffered several small strokes and a blocked aorta, and he was later found to have colon cancer that had metastasized. Yeah.
How old is he?
At this point, he would have been 78.
Oh, man, getting older sucks.
Yeah. Because of the chemotherapy that he couldn't see clearly, he announced his retirement on December 14th, 1999.
Damn.
This was difficult for Schulz, who told Al Roker on the Today Show,
I never dreamed that this was what would happen to me. I always had the feeling that I would probably stay with the strip until I was in my early 80s, but all of a sudden it's gone. It's been taken away from me. I did not take this away from me.
Schulz was asked if, in his final strip, Charlie Brown would finally get to kick the football after so many decades. He responded,
Oh, no, definitely not. I couldn't have Charlie Brown kick that football. That would be a terrible disservice to him after nearly half a century.
But in a December 1999 interview, holding back tears, Schulz recounted the moment when he signed his final strip, saying,
All of a sudden I thought, that poor kid, he never even got to kick a football. What a dirty trick. He never had a chance to kick the football.
They have pieces of this in the documentary.
Oh, yeah, and it's
on
just
Apple TV Plus.
heartbreaking.
It is, yeah.
If you don't shed a tear for that, then you don't have humanity in your
Literally,
body.
the last thing he said in the interview, I just did the best I could.
Yeah, which is just what a humble thing to say. Yeah. I don't see money as a barometer of success. How could I? Because I would kill myself.
I have none. Yeah,
but not only did he create something that changed comic strips, that changed America. Let's be honest, man. Peanuts changed America.
Yeah.
Putting Franklin in that putting Franklin in that comic strip in the 60s was huge.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that his first appearance was just he and Charlie Brown at the beach.
Yeah.
Realizing that they like making sandcastles together.
Yeah.
And then Franklin, was just one of the kids. It wasn't a big fanfare. It wasn't, here's the black character. It was
he just was there.
Franklin showed up,
yeah.
and then he was part of it. And that's what he,
And people did not like it. They were very angry. He got a lot of bad letters.
Yeah, and the best was when the syndicate was like, all right, you could have your black character just as long as you don't show him in school with the white characters. And guess what old Sparky did?
Immediately put him in school.
Put him in school with him. Because it was all about inclusivity with him.
Yeah.
It was all about participation. Everybody should be able to have fun. We should all be friends. We shouldn't, judge each other, whether on our gender or on the color of our skin.
Yeah.
It's just,
Kids are kids.
Yes.
And racism is something that's taught.
It definitely is, man.
And at the end of the day, it was just kids being kids.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter, I mean, it mattered to the point that someone could look at it and then go, I identify with this character.
Al Roker was like, man, when I saw Franklin, when I saw you don't understand. I think it's hard for, especially, white men to understand the lack of representation that people have had up until, 20 years ago. you know, and even now the representation
still,
isn't, as it should be. But back then, there was nothing.
Yeah, it was
nothing in the segregated.
Everything was lily white.
Yes. And for kids to finally see themselves in the strip and just as one of the kids.
Yeah.
It's huge, man.
Not making a big deal out of the fact that he's a little black kid.
Exactly.
Like, he's just a kid.
Exactly. It was one of the most deftly done integrations of comics or anything that I've ever seen. He was just brilliant that way because he didn't see it as he was so concerned about this.
Yeah.
He consulted with other educators. He consulted with a lot of people, and he's like, I don't know if I should do it.
He had wanted to put a black character in for a long time, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to do the kid justice.
Exactly.
And that it would appear to be patronizing of being like, I'll put this black kid in.
Exactly. And he got a lot of advice on it, and he took it so seriously. And then... But it was so not serious when he implemented it. That's just what's so great about it.
It was part of the universe, and that was it.
He was just brilliant about inclusivity. What a great guy.
He was. A proponent of crewed spaceflight, Schulz was honored with the naming of Apollo 10 command module Charlie Brown and lunar module Snoopy, launched on May 18th, 1969. The Silver Snoopy Award is a special honor awarded to NASA employees and contractors for outstanding achievements related to human flight safety or mission success.
He was so blown away by that.
It's crazy.
Think about it. You have a mission to the moon named after your characters.
Yeah.
Snoopy went to the moon. Charlie Brown went to the moon. And now there's a award named after Snoopy for NASA. What a life, man.
Yeah.
What a life. Like, just to experience all that fun and all those, just great.
Yeah.
Accolades, whatever, but these were like life moments. It wasn't just an award.
It was having a real impact on people.
100%.
It's tangible knowing that it's like, yes, this is a big deal.
It just shows how much the Peanuts were in the American culture.
Yeah.
How much a part of the zeitgeist it was.
On July 1st, 1983, Camp Snoopy opened at Knott's Berry Farm. It is a forested, mountain-themed area featuring the Peanuts characters. It has rides designed for younger children and is one of the most popular areas of the amusement park. When Schulz received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1996, he accepted it at Knott's Berry Farm.
Nice.
Yeah. When the Mall of America opened in Bloomington, Minnesota in 1992, the amusement park in the center had a Peanuts theme until 2006, when the mall lost the rights to use the characters.
And then quickly shut down like every other mall in the country.
Yeah. I don't... Is the Mall of America closed now?
No, it's not. But have you been to Knott's Berry Farm?
Yes.
Not a lot to do there.
It's fine.
They got good jam. And
there's
jellies.
There's roller coasters and stuff.
Yeah, it's fine.
The Gene and Charles Schulz Information Center at Sonoma State University opened in 2000 and now stands as one of the largest buildings in the California State University system and the state of California, with a 400,000 volume general collection and with a 750,000 volume automated retrieval system capacity.
Wow.
Huge. The $41.5 million building was named after Schulz, and his wife donated the $5 million needed to build and furnish the structure.
Yeah, she could afford it.
Yeah. Well,
she could afford it.
Yeah. She had a lot of money at that. It still has a lot of money at that.
Yeah,
point.
she's still alive.
Oh, yeah. She's still kicking. In 2000, the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors renamed the county airport as the Charles M. Schulz Sonoma County Airport in the cartoonist's honor.
Nice.
The airport's logo features Snoopy in goggles and scarf, taking to the skies on top of his red doghouse.
Man, I learned so much about World War I through Snoopy. Because not only did he do the strips where he was fighting the Red Baron in his Sopwith camel, and his, that's the Snoopy I had, by the way. He had the scarf, and he had the goggles and the helmet. Oh, I loved it. You could also get other outfits for him. It was awesome.
Nice.
I loved my Snoops. But yeah, he would also be, ground forces. Mm-hmm. He'd be quaffing his root beer at the Paris, underground thing. He had such a great imagination. Snoopy is one of the most amazing characters for a child. Mm-hmm. Because Snoopy is nothing but pure imagination. Snoopy is... World War I flying ace. Yeah. He's Joe Cool. He's a great tennis player. He's a great skater. He's a great everything. He's got this doghouse that has everything in it. He's a writer. It was a dark and stormy night.
Novelist, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A failed novelist. He had a hard time writing. That was some of my favorite strips, was him trying to write the novel. Oh, yeah. And then somebody being like, that's not very good. And him crumpling up the paper. That dog was... such an inspiration in terms of just pure joy, and he, Snoopy would get into, he'd get angry sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
And he and Woodstock would have some words occasionally.
Yeah.
But it was just to have that amount of whimsy and just pure imagination in such a grounded strip of these kids.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy that it works. Because
Yeah,
on one hand, you have these little philosophers that are leaning up against a wall with their hands on their cheeks and saying, I'm sad and don't be sad, Charlie Brown. And then on the other, then the next strip is Snoopy flying his doghouse.
Yeah.
It was insane. And the fact that he laid on top of his doghouse too.
Yeah,
was
he
just
didn't
such
sleep
a cool
inside
thing.
of
He
it,
was such a character, such a great unconventional character. And and because he was a dog, you could do so much with him. And it did become more and more fantastical as the strip went along, but it didn't suffer. It had to become more fantastical because it was, in my mind, all the Snoopy stuff didn't happen. Like, it happens in his mind.
Sure.
It's all of his play and his imagination. But it really, for me, it helped spark my imagination. Watching him deftly use his imagination.
In February, I believe it was February 22nd or February 23rd, 2000, he passed away. Oh. It was the date of his last cartoon that was published.
I cried. Look, it was so sad because that cartoon was a letter to his readers, basically. Like, I'm retiring. Thank you for all this time.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then the fact that he died the day it was released was just heartbreaking, man. It's kismet, I guess. He put his entire life into this thing, and when it was done, he was done. Hey, it was like losing a family member.
Yeah.
Somebody who with that much influence on your life, and somebody that it had was such a part of your life.
Yeah.
Whether it was reading or watching cartoons or, seeing commercials or going to Knott's Berry Farm. You couldn't get away from Snoopy and you didn't want to. You didn't want to. And just the fact when he passed, the realization that is over.
Yeah.
But nobody it still runs and stuff, but it's not.
But there's not going to be any new stories.
Well, there will be new cartoons. There will be, but hopefully they'll mine from his own 17,000 strips to come, and I swear, man, if they ever do like a friggin' 3D computer animated upgraded.
They did.
But they didn't do it with like making them you know what I mean? They didn't update.
No, they still looked like the cart.
In the comic, and it still had the same sweetness to it.
Yes.
But it's just, I know some asshole is going to make Lucy an influencer. And
I hope not. I mean, Jean has very tight control over his empire.
Jean's in her 90s.
She is, but still, I mean, I think his kids understand. I think that it's
because it's some things need to be preserved, man.
Yeah.
And there's no improving upon the peanuts.
No.
Listen to me, executives. Listen to me good. There is no improving upon the peanuts. Do it to something else.
The Charles M. Schulz Museum and Research Center in Santa Rosa opened on August 17th, 2002, 2 blocks away from his former studio, celebrating his life's work in the art of cartooning. No. A bronze statue of Charlie Brown and Snoopy stands in Depot Park in downtown Santa Rosa. In 2006, Forbes ranked Schulz as the third highest earning deceased celebrity, as he had earned $35 million in the previous year. So I looked up the numbers because I was curious.
Sure.
As of 2021, he was fourth ranked with $40 million made in the last year.
Yeah, because of Apple.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of it.
Yeah.
But he was behind Michael Jackson, who was number 3 with $75 million. Yeah. Prince, number 2, with $120 million.
Ow!
And my absolute surprise in completely dominating everyone, Roald Dahl with $513 million made for his estate in 2021.
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because they're basically making like 8 Roald Dahl
movies and TV shows.
So it's like,
I was just like, man, it's not even double; it's like triple. It's estimated that Charles M. Schulz's income during his lifetime totaled more than $1.1 billion.
And such a modest dude. Like it didn't go to his 18 homes and his yachts and his cars. It went to building schools, and it went to building ice rinks, and it went to scholarships, and it went to the guy had I wouldn't say a modest life. He had a compound or whatever, But it wasn't like...
But he wasn't like flashy.
No,
it was
not
just
at all.
stuff he
it was
needed.
Like it was like a little
He had
town,
the
yeah.
ability to make his life the way he wanted.
Who wouldn't?
And he did.
My
yeah.
God, man. If I could create a sanctuary with all the things that I like in it, I would 100% do that.
Oh, yeah, completely.
I don't go anywhere.
I
People
would
come
build
visit me.
a movie theater so I could go watch movies by myself in the dark.
Yes.
Yeah. Or invite my friends. His Santa Rosa home, unfortunately, was completely destroyed during the October 2017 wildfires in California.
Sad.
Yeah. We are out of time, but we're going to end with a quote from Bill Watterson, who created Calvin and Hobbes, that I think sums up Charles M. Schulz very well.
Peanuts pretty much defines the modern comic strip, so even now it's hard to see it with fresh eyes. The clean, minimalist drawings, the sarcastic humor, the unflinching emotional honesty, the inner thoughts of a household pet, the serious treatment of children, the wild fantasies, the merchandising on an enormous scale, the countless ways Schulz blazed the wide trail that most every cartoonist since has tried to follow.
Yeah, his legacy will last forever. It's amazing to me that man spent so much time alone creating this stuff, doing this stuff, and
He is a human being whose art transcends the medium.
yes,
Bigger.
yes,
Bigger than anything.
yes,
And that is such a rarity. And if you think of, look, I love Calvin and Hobbes. It's probably my second
it's
favorite
fantastic,
cartoon.
yeah.
The top three for me are Bloom County,
Yeah.
Calvin and Hobbes, and Charlie Brown.
yeah.
F you, Garfield.
Family circus.
Family
Family
circus.
circus.
Good Lord.
Go to hell.
Ooh. But
Are you related to Bill Keane?
I am Bill Keane.
Oh,
I'm Billy. I was the one that had that little dot thing around when you would jump around.
that was always my favorite.
It was everybody's favorite because it was like a maze. It was the only ones that were interesting. The other
That is
ones were
true.
like, the little not me ghosts or whatever. It was like, Jeffy did it. Jeffy spilled the peanut butter, Mom.
There is nothing better than a one-panel cartoon of a little girl holding a fork and going, "I'm eating paschetti and meatballs."
Like, shut up. Yeah, that Marmaduke. Blech. But the cartoon. I mean, Calvin and Hobbes would not exist.
No,
without Peanuts.
no.
Bloom County wouldn't exist without Peanuts because they gave people permission to philosophize and to be more than just, a 3-panel joke.
Yeah.
Set up, punchline, boo.
Yeah.
Even the very first Peanuts cartoon is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
You see Sherman sitting with Patty, I think. Not Peppermint Patty, but the Violet, maybe.
Yeah, they're both, yeah.
But it's when the kids had big heads. My favorite part, when they had big heads and little bodies. But it's Sherman saying, "Good old Charlie Brown. Here comes Charlie Brown. Good old Charlie Brown. Here he comes." And then Charlie Brown passes by, and in the last panel, Sherman's got his little brow furrowed. He's like, "God, how I hate him." And it's just so true. It's like people talk crap behind your back, and it's such a little kid thing to do too.
Yeah.
So it's just from the gate, out of the gate.
Yeah.
It was something special and different, and we'll never have anything like it again. And do yourself a favor, watch that documentary.
Oh, so good.
Go back. If you can get a hold of the really, really early Peanuts with the different heads and stuff, it's a very philosophical and very smart. I mean, it's always smart, but it's a young man strip where you can see him breaking ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's trying to make sense of the world.
Just check it out. I mean, we all know the specials and stuff. But look at the books, and if you have a chance, if you have Apple TV, watch the documentary because it'll warm your heart. It's one of the sweetest things I've seen in a long time.
It was very good. It done very well and covers his life very
Great
well.
celebration of an amazing human being.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another of our favorite animators.
Oh, Chuck Jones.
Chuck
baby. That's all, folks. If
Well,
you look
now
at the
it
comic
is,
section,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so small.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Coffee.
that's Norman Walk.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Family Ties, already in progress.